Hello, everybody. Dawn Janice here with Wendy Lee Baldwin Hargett, and we are Lightweavings podcast. This is where we ask that question: has something dimmed your light? And are you ready to do something about it? Because these questions are sometimes uncomfortable and hard. We talk about those subjects here. And Wendy and I discuss things. We just have a natural conversation, which always turns out to have I don't know, a specific topic. And so we feel like we're just being led here. And today we've both been experiencing something, Wendy, and it is the art of letting go and surrendering. Yeah.
Yes, that art of serenity.
Mm.
Ah,
Yes, surrender. I mean, that just seems so passive when we start thinking about that. Seems like I'm a powerful person. I don't have to let go of things. Surrendering sounds like I'm weak. That's not the case.
that's correct. It takes a lot of strength actually to surrender. And when we don't, we're in resistance. And that is how we are seem to be programmed, is always be in resistance. I read something really, it's a good reminder today is that it's okay for things to be kind of challenging in life, but suffering is optional.
Ah,
Yeah. How
that's
powerful is that?
that's good.
And when we let go of suffering, we can shift into letting go and surrendering.
Mm. Yeah, because we hang on to things, or I know I'm speaking for myself. I hang on to things so long sometimes that it is only suffering that I'm dealing with. Because what I've been taught, working with a grief counselor, is that suffering comes when we think we can control what others are doing or what God or our higher self or our higher power is in control of. And we are not in control of that. We are not responsible for that. And so lots of times we hang on to relationships or situations um, too long, and we're suffering while we're hanging on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. 100% guilty. I love that you bring up hanging on to relationships longer than what we should. I think that letting go of relationships is one of the more challenging things because there's so much underneath that letting go and surrendering into what is right for you. There's oftentimes we hang on to people longer than we should because we're afraid to be alone. We have abandonment issues, we have attachment trauma. And if we let go of somebody, sometimes it's like, well, it's better to have somebody than nobody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And that's not that it actually isn't true that it's better to have somebody than nobody because it's not fair to that other person either. If it's the relationship's not right, and we've talked about this before, release them, let them go, so that they can go find happiness. It's not fair to them. So out of kindness, lots of times it's better to release and surrender a relationship that isn't working.
Yeah, definitely. That takes so much courage. The saying of if you really love somebody, let them go. And if they
Mhm.
come back to you, they were yours. And if they don't, then they never were. And I've had to, in the past, ask somebody to please love me enough to let me go. And
Mhm.
it's a hard conversation, but it's
It
necessary
is. It's
sometimes.
a really hard conversation to have. It's hard. It's a difficult conversation. And as life coaches, we actually have some help with that, don't we? We can
Mhm.
help people with difficult conversations. I've had to deal with a lot of difficult conversations in my life already. Not that they always went well because I didn't have a coach to talk
Mhm.
to about it. But really understanding the why and releasing the emotions and having a conversation that's reasonable,
Mhm.
keeping the calm during it really does help with that. And it's so interesting that you said something that just got my attention because it is like sort of an old poem, or I've been hearing it most of my life about if you release someone or something and it comes back to you, it was yours forever. It's yours forever. But sometimes when we release relationships, um, it's almost like an addiction. Like people keep coming back. We go back to each other, and that is not healthy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That is not
Yeah.
healthy. And it's the old person or the old ways always return.
Yeah.
I rarely do I see that not be the case.
Yeah.
You know, people's basic values don't really change.
That is true. They can, but you have to be your values can change if you want them to change. You know, I've witnessed people that have shifted in values. And actually, as an NLP practitioner, we're taught how to help people shift their values, but you have to want to do it. And not everybody sees that their values are in conflict with somebody else. And not everybody is open to shifting and having more positive values.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process. It's actually a step process that we go through. It's first of all recognizing that there's an issue,
Mhm,
and then identifying it, and then you move on to making a decision to learn something new or adopt a different system or idea around
mhm,
it. So it's a process, and you're right. I mean, you have to want to.
mhm.
Have to want to fix it. It has to be that important.
Yeah, exactly.
And then have those tools and maybe a guide through it.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finding that right guide is also a challenge. Sometimes I've been in therapy groups that weren't right for me before,
Mhm,
that didn't seem to fit.
mhm,
And you can almost feel that right away. You know right away if it's not in alignment. Um, and it's just a waste of time if you stay,
mhm.
and energy. So, and lots of money sometimes.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In recent years, I've been doing the steps. I've been doing the 12 steps. I've joined an Al-Anon group because there's a family member that has been dealing with addiction that has been very sort of traumatic in my life. And it has been so great, Wendy. It has been so wonderful because it just falls right in line with what we do here, which is really being authentic and learning who we are authentically as ourself. And one of the basic principles is that surrender, the third step. It's like, you know, not only do we know that we have a higher power of some kind, whether that be the universe, God, your higher self, whatever that looks like. Um, some people say Mother Earth, whatever that is, um, that we actually have the ability to ask that higher power to help us.
Mhm,
And surrendering that is a big deal for somebody that hasn't practiced that for many, many years, and that would be me.
mhm,
So, in the last year and a half since my son passed away, I've looked at things a lot differently, and realizing that I am not in control. It's not just me. Obviously, there is something greater than me out there, or I would have been able to fix the situation.
mhm,
I thought I was that person. But I was taught, I was shown that I'm not. I mean, I am only in control of myself and what I do with the situation, how I react, what I learn from it, and what I do with what I've learned. So I've got quite a few stories about surrender in the last in the last year and a half. And it's been amazing to me how when I actually do that and release something and just surrender it and say, hey, obviously I'm not the right person to fix the situation, but I know, universe, that you are.
Yeah.
You can do whatever. So help. Thank you. And then trusting. And almost immediately, things turn around for the better, and whatever that looks like. So it's, I talk about things being magical, like gratitude being magical. I think surrender is magical as well.
Yeah, it really is. It's definitely a game changer when you realize that you cannot control the situation. And it's can take a lot of banging your head against the wall, a lot of frustration, a lot of temper tantrums until you realize that, hey, yeah, I need to give it up. That's been a really big theme for me as well. And because what I acknowledge is all the plans that I make just fly out the window.
Hmm.
I think that I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. My life is going to look this way. And then right before I think this is going to happen, boom, something happens and turns me another direction, completely out of the blue. And I'm tired of banging my head against the wall. I'm tired of being frustrated. I'm tired of, excuse me, setting plans in advance, having them fall through and be disappointed, and kind of a little bit of woe is me. Why is this happening? Why can't I just have things the way I want to? And since letting go, which is really can be really challenging, not just for myself, but everybody, letting that go and living in the moment. And I would say that has been one of the biggest parts of serenity is learning to just be in the now. My husband asked me a question the other day about something. I can't remember what it was. And I said, I don't know. I said, all I know is what's happening right now and this breath right now. And because I reiterated, I said, everything I plan just goes the opposite direction. So all I know to do is to be right here, right now, and to follow that internal guidance. Because with surrender, and I know that you're on the same page with this, you ask for guidance from your higher self, your intuition, your whatever God means to you, universe, whatever that looks like for you. When you're in surrender, then you get to start listening
Mm.
instead of thinking that you're the boss, because, as leaders, we like to be in charge, but with surrender, we get to listen to our leaders, I guess you could say, and do things, just be in that inner state of it's just peaceful.
Yeah,
It's
it is to let
beautiful.
go, to surrender.
Yeah.
There's peace that comes immediately with that if you
Yeah.
truly surrender and let
Yes.
it's like, give it to somebody else. Like, this is your responsibility now. I think I'm screwing it up, right? And that makes space, which is peace.
Yeah.
It gives you space, and space equals peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then being available and willing to receive.
Mm. Yes.
Because when we truly surrender and let go, something else comes in to fill the space.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be something that takes away the peace. It can be something that gives you more serenity. And if we truly, and I'm speaking from experience here, if I truly say, I can't, I'm not good at this. I can't fix this situation. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go to sleep. Here you go.
Mhm.
And lots of times I'll talk to my son who's passed away and say, hey, I know you're out there and I know you know what to do. Now he's, you know, he can do anything, right?
Yeah.
That gives me a sense of peace because I believe that. And then being ready for it and recognizing it when it comes, whatever the answer is. Recognizing it and receiving it. We can't receive it unless we recognize that it's something that we've asked for or that's been given to us.
Yeah.
We have to be aware.
Yeah.
And have, I guess the Bible says, take the scales off their eyes. They actually can see what the gift is, what the answer is. So, oh yeah. And, I am not a religious person. I've been down that road before and I've practiced that. I would say I am more spiritual now. I believe that, and it's science-based, I believe that we're all made of energy because that's what science tells us. Everything's electrons, neutrons, and protons. We're all energy. And energy doesn't die. It just transforms into something else and or goes somewhere else. It transfers. So it's science-based. And so just from my experience and everything that I've studied or been exposed to in my lifetime when it comes to spirituality of any kind, that's what I believe now. And I've been practicing that. It's a practice, by the way. I don't do it all the time. But and I've said this before, that when I do it, I get an answer immediately. I can see it because I'm ready to accept it. And that's just God, the universe, my higher power going, okay, I know that you need to be shown immediately so that you keep doing this. So I'm grateful for that right now.
Yeah.
And not everything's perfect. And I'm still a work in progress. I mean, I will be till the day that I leave this body. But that's what we're here for.
Yeah, we are all a work in progress.
Yeah.
I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect human, So yeah, and you're right, it is a practice. And with practice comes, becomes more routine, more a part of your being. And something that I've come to believe is we're all born remembering who we are, remembering that we have that support system and to surrender, but through coming into this human experience, we forget who we are. We forget to surrender. We forget that we have that support team, whatever you want to call it. Again, your higher self, God, universe, source, doesn't matter. And part of our fun, let's say the fun of being a human is progressing through life and remembering who we are, remembering we have this support system, and remembering to be in flow and to surrender, and just remembering how it all works. Like you say, we're all energy. It's kind of like remembering how the energy works.
Good. Yeah, I love the way you said that. Totally makes sense. There's different types of surrender. And I used to, when I was in religion, in a church situation, and it did a lot of good for me. Don't get me wrong. I learned a lot. But there were people in the church situation that were always, woe is me. Oh, this world has nothing for me. I just can't wait to be gone. Well, that's not the truth. That, in my opinion, it's not the truth. We get to decide. We have free will that we can make something out of this life. We get to decide. So I kind of had, and I knew that at the time in the religion. It just never, it just never landed well with me when I would see that, because I just don't, I've always refused to see the world that way. And this existence, I think it's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy, but I do believe it's a gift. You know, it's hard. It's hard for me to watch my son pass away. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard thing to go through.
Yeah.
But I still am looking for I'm still able to, and I'm grateful for this. I'm still able to see that even in that, there were things to be grateful for. He was surrounded by people that loved him. We know what happened, you know what I mean? Good things came of it. And, I'd rather have him, but good things came of it. So, we can look for things to be grateful for in anything,
Mm-hmm.
and we can recognize them if we're willing to. So, I guess my point was, as a type of surrendering that is more self-serving, I think, than actually, and self-serving in a negative way. Like almost self-loathing, like I don't love who I am in this body, so I don't want to be here, type of thing. It's like, that type of surrendering, I think, is it's just destructive. I think there's a positive way to surrender and to expect good things, and then there is a way that is just suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that at times in religion, and they're not all like that, obviously. Not everybody is, but I did witness that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just made me sort of go away from it at the time, because I thought, no, that's not who I am. And I was younger and less experienced. And it sort of drove me away from spirituality, really, at all. And sort of thinking, well, more of a patriarchal kind of a way of thinking, like, I am going to take control of everything in my life, and I'm going to do, and I'm going to make my life and make it happen. And, that did serve me a bit for a while,
Mm-hmm.
until it didn't anymore.
Yeah.
We come to like a stopping point where there's only so much that we can do.
That's very true. And there's a couple thoughts there. I love what you just shared. That was really powerful and insightful. There are so many coaches that are all about teaching people to do, which bless their hearts. That works for people, some people for where they're at right now. Going back to the religious part, I like that you brought up the point of people kind of like wanting to check out, surrendering that kind of way. To add to that, one of the things that did turn me off from organized religion. I was raised in a very strict religion, Pentecostal, and I talk about how I transitioned and found what worked for me. What I saw, and again, this isn't everybody, but what I saw a lot was people who called themselves, Christians or whatever, and they'd have an illness. Well, that's what God wanted for me. They'll lose something, like their home or lose their job. Well, that's what God wanted for me. So it's like they're just surrendering to whatever. And my personal belief is I don't believe in a God that would make you sick. I don't believe in a God that would make you lose your job. My opinion, and science backs this up, is we make ourselves sick. And our behavior can contribute to us losing a job, or maybe that just wasn't the right job for you and the universe kind of booted you out so you can go find something different. But it's like a victim mentality that's just accepted. Well, these bad things happen to me because that's what God wanted. It's like, people are certainly free to believe in a God that would punish them in a sense, or can say, hey, maybe I'm a little bit responsible here, and take control over that. And You can surrender into the process of being healthy. You can surrender into being in the right job without putting it onto an outside source for the negative part that happens. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. It's that whole trio of victimhood where there's a perpetrator, a rescuer, and a victim.
Yeah.
And, in that particular trio, God is both the perpetrator and the rescuer,
Mm.
which is just an unhealthy trio
Yeah.
to be in. Instead, knowing that we do have a higher power who is part of us.
Mhm.
The Bible talks about it, every school of thought does, in different ways. And I choose to see that as my soul, my higher self, my spirit, which is part of, that higher power, or
Mhm.
God, whatever you want to call it, that is not affected by ego.
Mm. Yeah. That is the big word right there, ego.
And that spirit, soul, higher self, whatever, not affected by ego, um, is much more able then to create than being held down by ego,
Mhm.
which our earthly self is. And I'm sure I have a lot to learn on that subject. I'm sure I probably have some of that wrong, but that's what I know right now.
Mhm.
So, feel free to comment if you'd like.
I agree with you totally about the ego. And a part of our mission is to integrate that ego because the ego does all kinds of crazy, it gets all kinds of crazy ideas and lead us down different paths and trying different things and yeah, the ego, it likes to think that it's in charge. It thinks that it knows everything. And the ego, the shadow side, the inner child, whatever you want to call it, is like such a really fun, deep conversation that I know that one of these days we're going to focus that on a deeper level. But yeah, I'm total agreement with you.
Yeah, it's a whole different subject. You're absolutely right. But yeah, so now once we understand what that surrender looks like, that it's a healthy next step, right? Like, okay, this was not my job because I'm obviously screwing it up, right? um, then to be willing to see and to accept and to receive.
Mhm.
And that's also hard for us to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much easier to give for me. I was taught that to work, work, work and do. And um, when when offered help, it's easy to say no for me. I
Mhm.
can do it. Well, that's okay. I got it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's a gift. And, when we start turning away the things that we're meant to receive, we may not be offered them any longer.
Yeah.
So it's a practice to receive as well.
It really is. Unfortunately, most of us are taught to give, especially women. We are taught to give and give and give. And receiving can feel really uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And it is a practice. And you get to make the conscious decision to start accepting. And what we don't necessarily always understand is when we, like you said, when we're offered help and we turn it down, we may not be offered the help again, but it's also carries over into other areas of life. If we're not willing to receive love when love is being offered to us, that's going to be squeezed off. Same thing with money, same thing with health. We get to receive whatever is in abundance for us. Um, I had a couple of things here, had like competing thoughts flash through my brain at the same time. So I kind of short circuited here for a second. My brain is faster than my mouth. with receiving, there's turning away receiving. One is, like we talked about, we're just taught to give. And two, it can be a lot of low self-esteem, feeling that we don't deserve what's being offered. And it is, like, you said before, it's wanting to have that control and
Mm,
thinking we can do it all, which I was actually just reading something today before we got on here that it's very common for people who don't manage their energy properly and to receive help to burn out by the time they're 50. And that happened to me. I hit stage 3 adrenal fatigue. So it's a really bad thing to happen. Don't do it. Receive, accept help, wherever you can. Your life your life could depend on it. Um, and I'll just share with you something about receiving that I have started to do. And, maybe our listeners and viewers would like to try this, is just sit, like calling all of your energy back and just saying, I am open to receiving all the abundance that is mine. I'm open to receiving and accepting whatever wordage works for you or both, the money, the love, the health, the joy, the experiences. And what you'll notice if you allow yourself to be in that space, even if it's just for a few breaths, because it might become uncomfortable after that. And we can talk about that in a second. But just sit with that for as long as you can. And since we're all energy, that positivity is energy, right? You just might, this is what my body does, and you might experience this too. You just start to feel like you're vibrating. You can feel yourself vibrating. What you're doing is you're raising your vibration literally,
wow.
up to that joy and that kind of like a state of like bliss.
Mm.
And it feels amazing. I was in that state last night when I went to bed. I was so tired, but I just laid there and just opened myself up to receiving. And I couldn't go to sleep until like almost midnight, even though I went to bed like at 9:30 because I was just buzzing from all the energy. So maybe don't do it at bedtime. Do it sooner. Start your day that way and get energized that way. Uh,
That's so beautiful. I mean, what a great visual you just gave us of actually buzzing because you're vibrating high and in the receiving mode. It seems so easy.
it does seem easy, and it can be easy. It is easy as long as we allow it. We have to allow it. And that was going to be the other part. If we start to feel uncomfortable, it's like, no, I can't do this. And there's an opportunity to look within and ask, where is this coming from? What story are you hearing? Whose voice are you hearing? To make you believe that you don't deserve to vibrate at a high level, that you don't deserve to receive,
Mhm.
because every person deserves to receive the abundance that is theirs, the joy, especially the joy and the love, and then everything else, the money and all that kind of stuff is a great bonus. But we're here to experience that love and that joy. And it's so important to get get down to the depths of what's blocking you from receiving and being in that receptive state.
Yeah. Um, that just gave me a lot of things went through my mind when you were talking about that. Um, and once again, I had competing thoughts like you. Crashing into each other and then, wait, where am I? That is so good. The vibrating, the receiving, to get into that state. And, maybe Wendy, it wasn't a bad thing that you did that before you went to sleep last night. Maybe it wasn't, because going to sleep, going to bed with that knowledge that you are vibrating high and actually closing your eyes and finally falling asleep, I'm sure that kept going
That's a really good point. Yeah,
during your
just yeah.
sleep, because that's when we rejuvenate our bodies. We also rejuvenate our mind
Mhm.
and our soul.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good point. Maybe just do it sooner.
Yeah.
So it doesn't keep you awake. But yeah, no, that's a really powerful point. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and we can actually get there when we express gratitude.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
We can get there. It is magic. And as a matter of fact, we talked about surrender and then being open to receive. And then once we receive, to acknowledge it and
Yeah.
be grateful.
Yeah.
And, that is a calm, blissful place to be where you've been through that process, you've surrendered, and that felt peaceful to
Mhm.
let go. And then to receive felt, I don't know, it kind of puts a smile on your face. It's like, okay,
Mm.
thank you. And
Yeah.
then the gratitude really raise all those things, just raise your vibration. You get to a peaceful space, and then you recognize it as kind of exciting and um, acknowledging. It's like, wow, I'm connected.
Mhm.
That feeling of being connected when you receive is
Yeah.
huge.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's where faith starts. And that's why like I said, that's why when I receive it's like immediately because, God, the universe by higher self knows that I'm new at this. And I have to see the proof right away. Kind of it's not proof, I guess that's the wrong word, but um and that way I can acknowledge it. That way I can acknowledge it and know that it was from surrendering, that
Mm.
that's why the answer came.
Yeah.
And it, you know, the universe, God, your higher self is filled with abundance. There's no limit. There's no limit. We hear in this earthly form, there's only so much energy that we are made of, right? There's only
Mhm.
so much energy, and we do get zapped. There's, things take our energy, we give it away. And if we don't fill our cup, um, then we will burn out, like you
Yeah.
were talking about your adrenal fatigue. And so lots of times it's when we surrender like that, we make space to fill our cup again and allow that to happen. And it can be then okay, all right, I can't do anything about that. That person doesn't want my help. It's not my job. It's not my responsibility anyway. It's theirs. My responsibility is to take care of this human being.
Right. That's a full-time job right there.
It's a full-time job right here. And so what does this human being need right now? Is it a quiet weekend alone that I just had?
Mm.
Is it time to get organized and declutter, which I also did this weekend, and I'll be talking about in half an hour on a live? Um, Is it going to the gym and working out? Is it running? Is it getting in the shower and just receiving, in the shower? Because that's where I receive a lot. Receive a lot of downloads when I'm like in water. For some reason,
Yeah.
that's my thing. And I think a lot of people do actually. Is it going and getting a massage? Is it getting a pedicure? Whatever that looks like. Is it calling a good friend, just laughing? That feeds my soul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
good stuff. So it's this little this beautiful trio instead of the negative one of the victim, the perpetrator, and the rescuer. It's the beautiful trio of surrendering, receiving, and gratitude.
Yeah. And we get to decide which one we want to live in. That's the beauty.
We are human beings and we have free will.
Yep.
We do get to decide. It's our decision.
Yep. Yeah. And as one that used to live in the victim perpetrator mode, that has shifted into the surrender, receive, and gratitude mode, I highly recommend door number two.
I do too. That's what we're here to tell you today. Apparently, we didn't even know that, but this is what we're here to tell you today. So it's really beautiful that, and this is what we do before we actually get on this recording. I mean, we really don't edit these. This is what we are saying. We Wendy is wonderful at this. She takes us through, releasing those things that have taken our power that we were just probably dealing with before we got on the recording. And we actually do that where we just sit in meditation for just a minute and allow ourselves to take our power back and receive. And we receive. And it usually turns out like this. There usually is a message then that, we have been called together to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's a
It's
beautiful thing.
yeah.
And this is the product today. I love it.
Me too. Very powerful topic. It's just fun because we never know what little twists and turns what we're gonna take and what's gonna come in, but it always seems to be divinely guided, which is one of our intentions. This is not coming from our ego. We always set the intention that it come from, source, higher self, whatever you want to call it. It's yeah, because we want it to never come from ego because ego has its own agenda.
Oh, that's for sure. It's very limited.
Yeah.
Like about it can only do so much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, you're never gonna see us reading a script here.
No, and something else is I don't foresee us ever projecting ahead,
No.
like giving an advance notice. Oh, next Tuesday at 2:00 p.m. Pacific, we're going to be talking about blah, blah, blah. And it's like, nope.
Probably not, unless we have an interview or something scheduled, which might
Right.
happen in the future. But as far as when it's Wendy and I on screen, you're just going to get a candid conversation about whatever we've been given to talk about. So whatever is on our mind together. And it always seems to be, there's a lot of synchronicity between what's been happening in our lives, and we land on it.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. What we can do and will do is, since we can't advise you in advance what's happening, is to make suggestions because we have a lot of other videos. I think this is our 21st episode.
Already? Are you serious?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm pretty sure last week was 20.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, so this, we have 20 other episodes to watch on personal growth, spiritual development, ways to help you get unstuck. Just type in Lightweavings podcast, and I think all of our videos will show up. I'm not that big of a tech person, but that's
Yes.
my understanding.
They do.
So,
And whatever, if you're on a podcast app, if you subscribe to our channel, our podcast channel, you'll see all of our episodes. And we do highly recommend that scroll through them and click on one or two of them and listen to them in the car when you're driving, listen to them when you're going for a walk or a run, or view us on YouTube. We really appreciate that, and do share, please. If
yes.
you think that this information would be good for anybody that you know, or that they might be interested in this, or even if it makes you mad and you want to share it with somebody, that's fine with us too. Because that could happen easily. And I'm sure these topics are a lot of people don't talk about these topics. So I understand if that does happen, and we'll be fine. So have a conversation with you, though. We would like to hear your feedback, so please do comment. Yes, and we have some big things coming up, which we've mentioned the last few times. But before we say that, it made me laugh when you were saying that this is our 21st episode. So we're like legal now. We're
Ooh.
of legal age to share other podcasts over to the side. And on the YouTube channel, we will do that as well. So we're going to figure out how to do that. And so it'll be easy for you to click, because we'll probably link other podcast episodes that have similar content. So, all right, tell us about your event you have coming up.
I will tell you. I just want to say really quick. I have to laugh, and I love that you mentioned that we could make people mad. I love that. Love that. One of the things that I tell my clients is I might make you mad, and it's okay because I'm a safe person to be mad at. And every person that has gotten angry at me because of something that came up, I pushed a button, they've come back and said, "Oh, you were right." So,
we could be wrong too, and that's fine with us. We could be wrong.
well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I just remember one person in particular, just because this person, I didn't even know this person was mad at me for months. And they finally came forward and said, I thought what you said upset me. And I thought about it. And then I came to understand
Mm.
that, yeah, I
Yeah.
get it now.
Yeah.
So,
And as we learn and grow, and we'll talk about it.
mhm,
I mean, we're just being very raw here. I mean,
mhm,
I've talked about a lot of very personal things in this podcast, as have you. And you know, life is short and we're not going to be around forever. And I'm really grateful that I get to share my life with the world and that it's recorded somewhere.
mhm,
And I know that freaks a lot of people out. And I understand that too. I've been there before. I've definitely been there before where I was afraid of judgment and that type
mhm,
of thing. But and it still bothers me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but not like it used to. And
mhm.
I'm really grateful that being raw and being out there live and doing a podcast now has allowed me to sort of overcome that fear of
Yeah,
judgment to some
that's,
degree. Like I said,
yeah.
not, but to some degree. Yeah. So
Uh,
tell us about this amazing angel event you have coming up.
in May, got the month right this time. I've
Yeah,
been saying the wrong month.
this month right here, the one we're
Yes,
in.
yes, this, I know it's coming up so fast. Wednesday, May 17th at 5 o'clock p.m. I have what's called Angel Healing SOS. It's going to be an hour of get together online Zoom, and we are going to have a guided meditation, calling in the angels, calling in Mother God, calling in whoever of the highest order for humanity chooses to show up, and do some incredibly powerful releasing. And these things you only release what you're ready, willing, able, and eager to let go of. It's a completely free event. If anybody is interested, you can go to my website, which is alignwithjoy.com/angel SOS. Want to register, even if you can't make it live, that's okay. I understand, because we're a global society. There will be a recording. And for anybody, I will throw this out there, anybody that is worried about being recorded and having their image sent out there, that's not going to happen. When I edit and send out the recording, you're going to have complete privacy, because it's very common, like when you have your heart opening up and letting go of pain, it's normal to cry, you know. Of course, people have the option to turn off their camera if they want to. I know that when I went through my first angel healing, I sobbed and drooled and I was a mess. I was glad that it was nighttime because I was outside by a beach and with a group of meditation people. It was a guided meditation, never experienced anything like that before. And it changed my life. You know, I released a lot of hatred towards a family member. And that was the time that I said, when I came to wipe my face, I said, okay, how do I serve you? And that's why I'm doing this. I'm giving back.
Awesome. Beautiful. I love that. What a beautiful way to give back. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I know that you have something very exciting coming up soon.
Yes. My partner for Lightweavings retreats, Tamara Langford, and I are holding a retreat in June 16th through the 19th, which is 3 nights in Sedona at a beautiful VRBO that we've rented. That's a mid-century modern home nestled in the red rocks of Sedona with mature trees around it. And there's a beautiful casita as well. And people are registering as we speak for this beautiful event for 3 nights and 4 days. We are going to be really focusing on you and your power. It's a power awakening, which we've talked about a lot here. This belongs to you. This is your power. And it's about recognizing who you are and who you truly are and what you have in you, what you love. And we're going to be doing a lot of exercises. We're going to be out in the Red Rocks, a magical small village of Sedona, Arizona, where the vortexes live, and spending some time there. And in June, in northern Arizona, where Sedona is, it's not blistering hot in Arizona. It's actually really nice in June. I've spent my birthday, which is the end of June, up in Sedona several years now with my friend Jan, and it's always nice um, the end of June in Sedona. So the weather will be beautiful, I'm quite sure. So yes, check it out. The website is Lightweavings with an S, retreats with an S.com. Lightweavings Retreats. And then if you go to the tab that says book at the top, you can see the space that's available. We've got 2 rooms already booked, and there's 2 more rooms left, and each have 2 beds in there. And so we would love to have you as one of our participants. So please check it out.
It sounds fantastic. I wish I could be there. I have situation going on that I won't be able to come. I know whoever shows up is going to have an amazing time. And also, I want to say that we will have the links down below to both of our events. Sometimes seeing the link and just being able to click on it can be a little easier. You know, if you're not an auditory person, we want this to be as simple as possible. So wonderful.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for all your wisdom today, and for allowing me, holding space for me to be a bit raw here on this particular episode. But it's good. It's good to speak the truth, because when we release and surrender things and say them, actually voice them, they no longer have power over us. And so there's a lot of reasons to surrender. And I'm really grateful that we had this conversation today.
Me too. It's been fun. It's been an honor as always. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you to everybody that's watching, listening. We really appreciate everybody.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye. See you next week.